Andrew Tate built an empire on one idea: that he had cracked the code to life. Fast cars, private jets, unlimited money, total freedom. To millions of fans online, he wasn't just successful, he was untouchable. But lately, that image has started falling apart. And not slowly, it's happening in real time, right in front of the internet. The same man who once mocked crypto scams is now being accused of pushing questionable coins. The same guy who claimed he would never need to rob his fans ended up launching projects people are now heavily criticizing. And the more pressure builds around him, the harder it becomes to ignore the cracks. This doesn't feel like a comeback story anymore. It feels like a countdown. And people are starting to notice. A while ago, Andrew Tate publicly laughed at the idea of launching his own cryptocurrency. When someone asked him directly if he would ever create a coin, his answer sounded crystal clear: "No, I'm never launching crypto." He mocked the entire crypto community, calling it full of degenerates and losers. According to him, crypto was one of the few industries where people could make millions while contributing absolutely nothing to society. So naturally, when rumors started spreading later that Tate was connected to crypto projects, many people were confused. Critics called him out immediately, but Tate brushed it off like it was all one big joke. He mocked anyone questioning him, acting like people simply couldn't understand sarcasm. At first, some believed him, but then things changed, because eventually, he actually did it. And that's where the story gets interesting. Before all the controversies, before the investigations, before the lawsuits, Andrew Tate had already mastered one thing better than almost anyone online: selling an image. He first became known as a kickboxer, but fighting was never the real business. The real business was influence. Tate understood something very early: people online don't just buy products, they buy lifestyles. And his lifestyle looked untouchable. Luxury cars lined up like trophies, private jets, massive mansions, designer watches, endless confidence. Everything about his content screamed the same message: I beat the system, and you can too. That message became the foundation of his empire. Millions of young men around the world looked at him like proof that escaping the matrix was possible. But there was always a catch. The secret to that lifestyle usually sat behind a paywall. Courses, communities, programs, memberships, pay money, and Tate would supposedly teach you how to become rich, powerful, respected, and free. And for a long time, it worked unbelievably well. His online platforms exploded in popularity. His clips dominated social media algorithms. People reposted him everywhere. Whether you loved him or hated him, you couldn't escape him. But then came December 2022, and suddenly, everything changed. Romanian authorities arrested Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan over serious allegations involving human trafficking and exploitation. The internet exploded instantly. For someone who built his entire identity around power and control, seeing him detained shocked people worldwide. Tate spent more than 90 days in detention before eventually being moved to house arrest in 2023. But even after that, restrictions remained. He still couldn't leave Romania. And while supporters believed he was being unfairly targeted, critics saw something very different. To them, this wasn't just online drama anymore. This was real legal pressure. And the pressure kept growing. Months later, more complications appeared. By 2024, the investigations had expanded further. New legal issues started surfacing outside Romania too, including action from authorities in the UK. Suddenly, it wasn't one case anymore. It was multiple problems building at the same time. And yet online, Tate acted like absolutely nothing was wrong. He continued posting confidently, continued promoting business ventures, continued building platforms, continued talking about wealth like his empire was stronger than ever. That's when another major project entered the spotlight: the real world. A Discord-style online platform charging users around $49 every month. According to Tate, this was the ultimate escape plan from the matrix. A place where people could supposedly learn modern wealth creation directly from experts. On the surface, it sounded like a business education platform, but critics quickly started raising concerns, because the structure started looking familiar. Members paid monthly fees, users were encouraged to recruit more people, higher-level members appeared to benefit from the activity of newer users below them, and then crypto became involved too. Tate began discussing token systems connected to the platform. People could supposedly invest and earn from the growth of the ecosystem itself. To supporters, it looked innovative. To critics, it started looking dangerously close to a pyramid-style structure, especially because this was the same man who once mocked crypto entirely, and that contradiction became impossible to ignore. But the real disaster arrived in late November 2024. That's when the real world suffered a massive hack, and the fallout was huge. Reports claimed that chat logs involving hundreds of thousands of users were exposed. Email addresses leaked. Private discussions leaked. Sensitive conversations leaked. This wasn't some tiny security issue. This was a full-scale data breach. And what made the situation even worse was the reason behind it. The hackers reportedly claimed the platform's security was incredibly weak, not elite-level cyber warfare, basic vulnerabilities. That revelation spread across social media instantly. People mocked the irony. A platform selling financial freedom and elite networking had allegedly failed to protect its own users. And those users weren't random people. Many were deeply involved in online money-making communities and crypto spaces, meaning scammers suddenly had access to massive amounts of valuable information. Emails, private chats, financial discussions, business interests. Critics called it a complete collapse of trust, but Tate responded exactly how many expected him to. He minimized the situation publicly, claimed the hack wasn't a big deal, then immediately pivoted back into flexing numbers. He talked about the platform's size, its growth, its monthly revenue, its influence. But people online kept asking the same uncomfortable question: if the business is already generating massive amounts of money, why keep aggressively pushing crypto projects? Why take those risks? That question spread everywhere online because it cut directly through the image. At some point, it stopped looking strategic and started looking desperate. Then things escalated again. In December 2024, a London court reportedly ordered the seizure of over £2 million connected to unpaid taxes. Now this wasn't internet gossip anymore. This was real money being legally taken. Real financial consequences. Again, Tate framed himself as a victim of the system. He argued authorities were targeting him because of his influence and popularity. Supporters believed him. Critics saw deflection. Then, unexpectedly, there was a temporary shift in his favor. In early 2025, Romanian courts loosened some restrictions placed on the Tate brothers. Eventually, authorities even allowed them to travel internationally again. After years of limitations, they suddenly flew to the United States, and that move created another explosion online. Many people assumed the cases against them were over, but they weren't. Investigations were still active, which raised an obvious question: why were they suddenly allowed to leave? The timing sparked massive speculation online, especially because it happened shortly after Donald Trump returned to office. Some people began theorizing about political influence behind the scenes. Nothing was officially confirmed, but the rumors spread fast, especially because Tate had publicly supported Trump and echoed many anti-establishment narratives online. Still, the situation in America didn't go how many expected. Instead of receiving a warm welcome, Florida officials publicly criticized the brothers. Authorities made it clear that serious allegations involving exploitation and trafficking would not be ignored, and then another investigation reportedly opened. Suddenly, America didn't look like an escape route anymore. It looked like another battlefield. Tate once again responded the same way he always does, by claiming political persecution. He argued powerful systems were targeting him because of his influence. But by this point, even some neutral observers started noticing a pattern. Every controversy became proof of the matrix. Every accusation became evidence of a coordinated attack. Every investigation became confirmation that he was too powerful to silence. And eventually, people started asking, what if these aren't all attacks? What if some are simply consequences? Then things got even worse. Old clips and controversial statements resurfaced online. Comments about women. Comments about legal systems. Comments about wiping his phone every night. Each viral moment added more fuel to the fire. And at this stage, the situation felt completely out of control. No interview could fully redirect attention anymore. No podcast appearance could reset public perception. The narrative was slipping away. So Tate made another move. He eventually left the United States and returned to Romania, claiming he wanted to prove his innocence. But critics viewed the move differently. To them, leaving America looked strategic, not symbolic. Meanwhile, the lawsuits continued, the investigations continued, and the pressure kept stacking higher. At one point, the Tate brothers even launched defamation lawsuits against critics online. Supporters saw that as fighting back. Others saw it as intimidation. Because defamation cases can become risky. Once legal discovery begins, both sides may be forced to provide evidence, and critics immediately pointed that out online. Some even argued the lawsuits could backfire badly. Now step back and look at the entire picture together. investigations in Romania, legal pressure in the UK, financial seizures in London, scrutiny in the United States, crypto controversies, data breaches, lawsuits, public backlash. This isn't one isolated controversy anymore. It's a stack of problems building on top of each other. And the image that once made Andrew Tate look untouchable, that image is fading fast, because at some point, constant chaos stops looking like strength and starts looking like instability. That's the biggest shift happening right now. A few years ago, Tate controlled the internet narrative almost perfectly. Every criticism made him bigger. Every controversy increased his fame. But today, the situation feels different. The cracks are louder now, more visible, more difficult to spin away. And whether you support him or completely disagree with him, one thing has become impossible to ignore: this story is no longer slowing down. It's escalating.